The disappearance of Martin Dennis is one of those strange and mysterious cases that still remain unsolved. Despite the passage of decades since the incident in 1969, the case evokes a sense of unsolved mystery, heightened by its age and the lack of concrete answers. The boy was only 6 years old at the time of his disappearance and had learning difficulties. He was mentally retarded, which forced him to attend specialized classes. Although Dennis was a quiet child, his father mentioned that he would interact with strangers if they approached him. On June 13, 1969, Dennis went on a camping trip with his father Bill, grandfather Clyde, and his older brother Douglas, who was then 9 years old. They were joined by several family friends with children. The entire group arrived in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where they set up camp in an open clearing surrounded by forest and overlooking the mountains. After spending the night in camp, the next morning they decided to go for a walk along the trail in the eastern part of the clearing, which took about an hour and a half. Their final destination was a small hut, where they planned to stay for the night. At about 4:30 p.m., Dennis and his brother decided to play hide-and-seek with some other children. The adults nearby were talking among themselves, keeping an eye on the children. Then the children decided to play a joke on their parents by hiding in the forest and suddenly jumping out and scaring them. This seemed like a normal game for their age. The boys split up and went in different directions to hide in the bushes. As the parents passed by, all the children jumped out of their hiding places, all except Dennis. The boys claimed that they had recently seen him hiding nearby, and therefore assumed that he should appear soon. However, after 5 minutes, Dennis still had not come out of his hiding place. The boy's father began to get nervous and began calling his name, exploring the area. Not finding any trace of his son, he ran along the path in both directions, but without success, and then returned back to the others. Around 8:30 p.m., Dennis's parents reported him missing to park rangers, after which adults and staff began searching the area where the boy was last seen. However, a severe thunderstorm soon broke out, with about 7.5 centimeters of rain falling in a few hours, which greatly complicated the search operation. The downpour washed out the trails, making it difficult to move and explore the area. Meanwhile, not far from the scene, another tourist, 45-year-old Harold Kears, who was hiking with his family, heard a loud and scary scream. They noticed movement in the bushes. Kears's son suggested that it could have been a bear, but it later turned out that a dirty, overgrown man with something on his shoulder was seen in the forest. This incident occurred several hours after Dennis's disappearance. Despite the fact that this evidence could have been important, the police decided to ignore it. They pointed out that the place where the strange man was seen was too far away, about 8 kilometers from the last known location of Dennis. In the following days, a large-scale search was launched in the park. It involved not only rangers and volunteers, but also search dogs, Boy Scouts, hunters and firefighters, helicopters from the Tennessee Military Department, U.S. Army Special Forces soldiers, including 60 Green Berets, many of whom were Vietnam veterans with experience working in difficult terrain, also joined the search. The number of search participants reached 1,400 people. However, bad weather conditions such as heavy rains and thick fog seriously complicated the search operation both on the ground and from the air. Dogs could not pick up the scent. In desperation, even psychics were involved in the search, among whom was the famous American astrologer and medium Jean Dixon. During subsequent searches, a possible clue was found in the area where Dennis disappeared. Shoe prints were found there, which appeared to be child-sized. However, officials said the prints did not belong to Dennis. Park officials believed they were probably made by a Boy Scout who was participating in the search. Upon closer examination, it was discovered that one print was made by a bare foot and the other by a shoe. It was a shoe similar to the one worn by Dennis Martin. A sock and shoe were also found nearby. Retired park ranger Dwight MacArthur believes that the prints could have belonged to Dennis, since no Boy Scout could walk barefoot. On June 22, an area of 150 square kilometers of the national park was combed. More than 1,000 people continued the search until June 29, and it was not officially completed until September 14, 1969. As of 2019, the case remains the largest search operation in the history of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Helicopters spent about 200 hours in the air, moving more than 13,000 people and 24 tons of cargo. In total, searchers spent 26,500 man-hours looking for the missing boy. In 1985, a hunter reported to authorities that he had possibly found the skeletal remains of a child in Big Hollow. Remarkably, he had found them several years earlier while illegally harvesting ginseng. However, he did not report the find at the time, fearing being prosecuted for poaching or, worse, accused of involvement in Dennis's disappearance. Law enforcement officers went to the location indicated by the hunter, but no remains were found. The area was approximately 5 miles, 8 kilometers, from the last place Dennis was seen alive, and in the same direction as a child's shoe print that matched the shoes Dennis was wearing. Since no one witnessed Dennis being attacked or kidnapped, most assumed he had simply gotten lost and would be found alive. However, the adverse weather conditions that accompanied the search operation greatly reduced this possibility. There are 3 main theories about what could have happened. The first theory suggests that the boy was attacked by wild animals. The area is home to dangerous fauna, including wild boars, copperheads, bears, and lynxes. Although bears are not usually aggressive toward people, in June 1969 their natural food sources were significantly reduced, and hunger may have driven them to attack. However, this version is disputed by the fact that no one heard the sounds of a struggle or cries for help, and no traces of animals were seen nearby. In the event of an attack by animals, there would probably be traces of a struggle or scraps of clothing. The second theory is that Dennis got lost and died due to exposure to natural factors. The area where he disappeared is extremely difficult. It is covered with rocks, deep crevices, thickets of trees and bushes. In addition, a strong storm broke out shortly after his disappearance, and at night the temperature dropped to 10 degrees Celsius. Such rugged terrain, combined with bad weather conditions, makes this theory very plausible. The sounds of rain and wind could have drowned out the screams or cries of a child. But the problem with this version is that Dennis was near other children when they were playing hide and seek. If he simply intended to hide in the bushes to suddenly jump out and scare his parents, then it remains a mystery why he suddenly went into the forest and what could have made him do it. The third theory suggests that Dennis could have been abducted by an unknown person. This is supported by the family's testimony, who claimed to have heard a loud scream and seen a strange, unkempt man carrying something over his shoulder in the woods. They also noticed a red color, similar to Dennis's t-shirt. Despite this, the police did not take this observation into account, since it was made at a significant distance from the place where the boy disappeared. Additionally, given the short period of time that Dennis was left unattended, abduction in 2 or 3 minutes without leaving any traces seems very difficult. Moreover, no one heard cries for help. Perhaps Dennis simply got lost, and this person accidentally stumbled upon him. However, Dennis' father was a supporter of the abduction theory and considered it the most likely. More than 50 years have passed since then, but no new information about the fate of Dennis has emerged. His family still doesn't know what happened to the boy that day, and it remains a tantalizing mystery to them. Each of the 3 theories has some validity, but the truth has never been established. The fate of Dennis Martin remains one of Tennessee's greatest unsolved mysteries to this day.